Welcome to the Department Chair Leadership Podcast, where the goal is to improve organizations and serve students one leader at a time. I'm your host, Dr. Chris Jochum. If you're a department chair in higher education or any type of educational leader, and you want to improve yourself to better serve and influence those you lead, you've come to the right place, because the best way to improve an organization is to improve its leader. Let's get started. Welcome back, friends, and as always, thank you for taking some time to improve your organization and those you serve by developing yourself as a leader. Today, we are joined by Carolyn Mattiske, and some of you may not know the great work that she and her team are doing. She is the director of the SUNY SAIL Institute. SUNY is in the State University of New York, and SAIL stands for Strategic, Academic, and Innovative Leadership. They do a wonderful job of supporting their chairs, directors, and other mid-level leaders across what, as some of you may know, is a very large system. And so I just thought it would be really beneficial for all of our listeners, certainly those in higher ed, but those who are not in higher ed, but still in leadership positions, to learn from Carolyn and the great things she is doing, because we have a need to train leaders in every organization. So Carolyn, welcome to the Department Chair Leadership Podcast. How are you doing today?
Oh, thank you, Chris, for inviting me. I'm doing really well today.
Well, I appreciate you being here. I've been familiar with your work and your team's work for a few years now, and you've been gracious enough over the years during your summer institute to have me zoom in and talk to your chairs. Let's just get started. Why don't you share with our listeners a little bit about who you are and what it is that you do as the director of the SUNY SAIL Institute?
Oh, I'm happy to share a little bit about myself, Chris. So I have been in this role for about 7 years now, and the SAIL Institute is a part of SUNY's system administration. And so that means that we support the 64 campus system. We have a variety of campuses all across the state: community colleges, comprehensives, university centers, ag techs. And so there's quite a variety of institutions that we support, and department chairs and program coordinators at all of them. And so this is a unique role that we've identified. Chairs are just one of the many higher ed leader roles that we support as part of our portfolio. And over the 7 years I've been in this role, have really been able to grow chairs training from non-existence to something that every year we are happy to try to improve it and make it better and really meet the chair's unique needs.
Well, let's start right there, Carolyn. We all know that the chair job is very unique. I always say it can be as rewarding as it can be challenging. We've seen the research that 80% of decisions on a college campus somehow run through the chair's office. And what are some of those unique needs that you have identified? And maybe even along those lines, how does that tie into what I think is a very well-designed, structured curriculum that you offer? Because I'm looking here, 64 campuses. That's amazing. And so just talk a little bit about that, your curriculum, and what you have seen as some of those critical needs that people going into those positions need.
Oh, sure. There are so many needs. I guess where I'd like to start, though, is just about higher education leaders in general, if that's okay, because the foundation of all of the SAIL curriculum is based on the 6 domains of leadership for higher education. This was an article that I would hope that we can share with your listening audience. It's really foundational to all that we do and how we start to identify what the needs of each particular audience are. So we start by helping leaders to identify and really know themselves, that's critical. And we spend a lot of time right there helping them to understand themselves and asking reflective questions, and giving them a DISC assessment so that they can understand their own work style and start to think about who around them that they're supporting, their colleagues, their faculty, their dean. So understanding themselves in order to understand others is where we start. Um, it's similar but different is also knowing their skills. And so we have a series of questions and reflective activities around knowing the skills that are necessary for the role of a chair. We typically get into this in the program by inviting back alumni from our past chairs academy and asking them how things went. And so starting to zero in on what are those skills that they needed. We know that they need to build teams, they need to supervise, they need to be decision makers, motivators, resolve conflict, use data in a way that's going to move their team forward, manage the budget, be resource generators. There are so many skills that these chairs need. And so we don't want to overwhelm them. But we do want to make sure that they're clear on what those skills are, because they're very different from the jobs that they've been doing up to this point. We also want them to have a good sense of their team. So I mentioned the DISC assessment that really starts to get them thinking about how others are operating and have a different work style than they do many times, or if they have the same style, even how they can manage that. And so starting to understand how to manage a diverse team and keep them motivated and moving in the same direction. Knowing their students, this is unique to higher education. So my background, I didn't share much about it, but I've worked in other industries in learning and development and managing, workforce and what employees need to be able to support their customers. In our case, it's supporting students. And so having a really good understanding of where our SUNY students are coming from, what their needs are to make sure that they're successful. This has actually been an area that our new chancellor has taken a great focus on and really invested in student success. So we want to enlighten them a little bit about those messages coming from the top, and also the data about who are our students, and so that they can properly support them. We mentioned that there are 64 different institutions and they are very unique. And so having an understanding of their own institution is going to make them a more impactful chair in the role. So we talk a little bit about that. One of the benefits of this cohort experience that SAIL offers is that we have a variety of institutions represented. And so while a chair could feel very isolated in their own work, on their own campus, in their own team, we put them in a group where they get a sense of what's the same and what's different about the institutions. And so that starts to become a little bit more clear, and they can come up with better ways to have a strategic plan, connect to the mission and the vision of their institution. They can start to think about the resources. Community colleges are much more resource poor, and so they've got to wear many hats in a lot of cases. And so just having a solid understanding, being able to work with people who are struggling with the same things, and figuring out ways to manage the institutional context that they're in. Which sort of leads me to the sixth domain, which is know your context. And so that's everything swirling around us in this, world. And so on your campus, there's a context of, the community around you. There are federal policies that impact us. There are so many things that we need to have our eye on that we're sort of opening their eyes to think about all of those bigger picture issues, because they do have a big impact on their own work. And so this is a chance for them to stop, slow down, and hear some of the data about the context and start to look around the corner a little bit about what's ahead for higher ed, and managing the context as best that they can.
Thank you. I really appreciate, certainly as somebody with a background in curriculum and instruction and a teacher, I really like this framework. Again, and we'll post this in the notes, but just to recap, those six domains that Carolyn talked about are self, skills, students, institution, team, and context. Uh, all of those are critically important. And you started off, and I think it was very easy for you to list off all of the hats and the skills that when people make that transition from faculty member to formalized leader, resolving conflict, making decisions, budget, resources, maybe fundraising, doing the schedule, keeping up with whatever accreditation may affect your industry, politics. Uh, so along that, what with those six domains, what is one or two or three? I'm sure there's more, but you've done this long enough. When somebody makes that transition from faculty member, and let's assume they obviously were successful faculty members. I've been in higher ed long enough. You're never going to go to somebody that wasn't a successful faculty member. However, as we know, the skills are distinctly different, and so being a rock star faculty member doesn't necessarily equate to being the best leader, but those skills can be learned. So, what are some of the either we can call them big surprises, big challenges? What are some of those things that across the board over the years, working with 64 campuses, that when you go into this, you can pretty much anticipate that they're going to have these either aha moments or I'm concerned?
Mm. My mind is immediately going to time management. Um, and so we do include a segment on time management. So the chair is very busy with administrative tasks. And so helping them to be able to stay true to who they are as a faculty member at the core, but then juggle this new administrative role. And so we do spend some time giving them strategies for being able to manage their inbox and manage the meetings and manage the communication, while keeping their eye on what their overall goal is for the department, is definitely a need that we've identified and we address. I think that hearing from past alumni is really helpful because they are outside of this classroom space and hearing from real chairs who've lived through a year of service and have stories to tell. So we set the stage for them with that in the very beginning, and they hear from their peers that are in a variety of different faculty roles and departments. And so we try to give them a soft entry into what the role is so that they can go in eyes wide open. Sometimes we get chairs who are preparing for the fall semester and they haven't even served one day, which is great that they are given this opportunity to learn leadership skills and understand the role before they're asked to do it. That's not always the case. Sometimes we get people in their first year and they've sort of struggled through, or they've done the best they can without any formal training. And sometimes we even get chairs who've served in the role for several years and they're really looking for something more formalized. And so most of the time it's very new or brand new chairs. But they all need to have that solid understanding of themselves, like I said. And so the DISC assessment gives them the clear picture of what their style is, their communication preferences, their motivation. And then we also invite in experienced deans and higher level administrators on campuses to talk about what they are looking for from a chair and giving them some tips on how to manage up, sideways, and down. And so thinking about how they're, managing the flow of information and supporting each of those groups in unique ways. While at the same time, we know chairs oftentimes go back to the faculty role after they've served. And so acknowledging that this will be something that they are challenged with and need to be prepared for. So they can hear from others who've done that. And just thinking it through before they're actually forced to do it, we find is helpful. We also spend a lot of time preparing them for crucial conversations. So that's a licensed training that we purchase for each of the chairs, and they are going through that material on their own time. So it's asynchronous learning that we've built into this academy. And then the academy gives them a chance to practice. I host practice sessions for them to come and work through very specific case studies that a real chair could be faced with. And so they learn the concepts on their own time. They come together with these chairs that are in their cohort, and they practice for having those crucial conversations, because we know that that's so critical to a leadership role, is to be able to identify where they're stuck and not be frozen in fear, or to be a little too aggressive in their communication, but to really stay in dialogue to be able to advance whatever they need to. And so we spend some time practicing those skills at 2 points during the month-long experience. And I think that really settles a lot of their fears, because, having conflicts with your peers can be very distressing to people, but they go through it together, and they really do leave this experience feeling that they're prepared for a crucial conversation when it comes to them. And sometimes they will have to initiate them, but sometimes you're in them. And so we want to make sure that they feel ready for those experiences.
I am so pleased to hear that among the many great things you're doing, and also Crucial Conversations is a book that anyone can buy and read. I encourage you to do that. You don't have to necessarily subscribe to the whole training curriculum, but I am a firm believer, because this has helped me, and I'm so glad that, Carolyn, that you mentioned this. Whether you are in a formalized program or not, the ability to role play a tough conversation pays dividends. And the first time you do it, it might seem a little awkward, but I have always said any type of conflict management training, it can include a lot of different things and be successful in many ways, but it has to be predicated upon using real life case studies and then role playing those out. And then as we continue into our careers, I always encourage people, have at least one trusted mentor, maybe even not on your campus, that you can continue to have those role play conversations with. You don't have to give them all the facts and violate somebody's rights or confidentiality, but it really, really helps. I've been a chair over 8 years now, and I still will role play and bounce ideas off of some of my mentors, because honestly, I want to be fair. I want to see things from a neutral perspective, and that really helps. So kudos to you for that. The other thing, Carolyn, I do have to mention is obviously time management is a big concern. We go from a life that, while the life of a tenure track professor is demanding, one of the benefits is that we do make a lot of our own schedule. However, I always say, don't. The downside is, in 7 years we come knocking, and it's called promotion and tenure. So if you haven't managed that schedule well, there's a consequence. However, you go from having more control over your agenda to literally giving probably another human the ability to put something on your agenda. And so, is there one main tip that that you could share, if we just ran into, if someone runs into you at a conference and says, "Hey, you're the SUNY SAIL person. What's one thing you can tell me with time management?" What is one thing you could share?
I think that it would be considering the meetings that you have on your week. either looking at the past week or the week ahead, just starting to think about your presence in each of those meetings. Is it necessary? Is it helpful? And try to do a little bit of calendar cleansing if you can. And so you want to make sure that what you say in the meetings is going to be helpful. Um, so another acronym that I just learned last week actually was WAIT. And it's why am I talking? And or you could ask yourself the other question, why aren't I talking? And I think that that's helpful both in meetings and also thinking about your presence at those meetings as we're trying to do this calendar cleanse. Is your presence as the chair going to be helpful there? The other really important thing for chairs to do is to start to come up with agendas and a way to move to action. And so respecting their time, we do this in the academy. We model starting on time and ending on time. We model following up with materials so that they're not questioning what was accomplished and where we're going. And so starting to do that with your own team is important. So just coming up with a plan to be able to manage communication on your team, have agendas for meetings, and a way for people to have the communication accessible.
Hey, thank you. I learned some great tips right there, Carolyn. I don't know where that came from or if it's trademarked or in a peer-reviewed study, but the WAIT acronym, why am or aren't I talking? I wish I would have known that years ago when I was a middle school teacher. That would have also helped my classroom management. Um, hey, real quick here, as we close out, what's on the horizon? What's coming up for SUNY SAIL? What are some
Oh, I'm
things that
so
you're
glad you asked this,
Mhm.
Chris, because I'm really excited about where we're going. The Sail Academy usually fills up with 36 chairs each year, and we have a huge system, and so the demand far exceeds what we're able to do currently. We have historically gone to campuses that have a number of chairs that they want to train, but this curriculum that we've put together for the Chairs Academy, it goes so much deeper than a one-day workshop. And so what we are hoping to do is to take that experience in this summer's academy and use the recorded sessions, the workshops, and build a bright space digital learning environment and offer another way for chairs to consume this content and move through a cohort experience. So it will still be ultimately led by an instructor, someone who is equipped to train chairs, but we can only really meet the needs of 36 people in the summer program. We need to be able to scale this up. And so this year we are taking a serious look at that and working with an instructional designer to be able to move it into bright space and be able to accommodate many more chairs. We also are pretty unique in, I think that SUNY has invested in the chairs in this way, but we've caught the attention of people outside of our system. And so, with a growing need of chairs to train, it's going to be really important for us to be able to offer this in another format, just to be able to meet the need that's out there.
Well, thank you, because I know listeners will have that. How can I, if I'm not on one of the 64 campuses, and we will put this information in the show notes because I can personally let people know they still have some great stuff available to everyone. And I would certainly encourage you to look at that. So, hey, Carolyn Mattiske, director of the SUNY SAIL Institute. I really appreciate you taking the time to not only visit with us, but the work you do. It is critically important that we train our chairs and directors, and that's why I wanted to highlight the great work you're doing. So people outside of your system and outside of your neck of the woods can maybe look to this and adapt it. Contact you. We'll put your contact information in there. You've been always very generous to me with my questions. And so overall, Carolyn, I just wanted to thank you. And any final thoughts or comments that you'd like to share before we close out the show?
I guess I just want to address the chairs that are listening to let them know that the job that they're doing is a challenging one. And so, my goal here with this academy is to acknowledge the challenges that they will face as leaders and at the same time respect them as faculty and experts in what they do. But acknowledging that this is a different set of skills and we can learn these skills. And so, doing it with a group that's also going through the same experience has been really positive for people. And doing something to increase your professional development and prepare yourself for the role is better than nothing. So, even if all you do is go buy that $25 book we talked about, Crucial Conversations, add it to your library. And it will really, really help you. And so, if there's anything that the SAIL Institute can do to support you as you grapple with this role, we're here to help.
Well, great advice to end on. And again, thank you, Carolyn Mattiske, Director of the SUNY SAIL. And thank you, friends, as always, for taking time to invest in yourself and those you serve as a leader by listening to the Department Chair Leadership Podcast. We wish you well, and we will see you next time. Thank you for listening to the Department Chair Leadership Podcast. If you want to learn more about my leadership philosophy and how to be an effective chair, please consider my book, The Department Chair, A Practical Guide to Effective Leadership. You can find this and learn more about me by going to cjleadership.com. Also, please be sure to like this podcast, leave a review, and share with your colleagues. Thanks again for improving your organization and those you serve by improving yourself. Take care.